All right, welcome to this session entitled Create with Google Classroom. This is another session within my Nothing But a G Suite Thing series where we focus on different ways to use G Suite. You can access these slides at this bit.ly here, bit.ly/create with GC. The G and the C must be capital, the others are lowercase. Let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Adam Waters. I'm a tech integration coach for grades 6 through 12 for Cutler-Orosi Joint Unified School District in Tulare County out here in rural central California. Here you have my contact information, my email address, my website where I house all of my resources. A link to subscribe to my blog to get daily ed tech tips delivered to your inbox, as well as follow me on social media. I will do my best to support you going forward. I usually respond to any kind of request within 24 hours. Let's go ahead and get started here. So why use Google Classroom here? So let's start with the basics. Let's start with somebody who kind of wrote the book on Google Classroom, Alice Keeler. Alice Keeler literally wrote the first book on Google Classroom not too long after it was first unveiled, and she describes it as the world's greatest filing system. I think that's a great way to characterize Google Classroom at its core. It files your Google Drive for you. You don't have to name things. You don't have to worry about naming conventions as much. It does it for you and your students. So it definitely makes filing your files in Google Classroom so much easier. In addition, it'll allow you to do something that I'm passionate about called ditch that copier. So Google Classroom, what you can do with Google Classroom may have taken you hours at the copy machine when it comes to running off certain kind of written activities. Well, all that time wasted at the copy machine. Think about it. We all have a horror story of sitting at the copy machine, waiting, either fighting for it, waiting in a long line for it. And while you're waiting, you're not doing anything productive. And by the time you finally get there, maybe it's out of toner and you get all that black gunk all over yourself when you're trying to change out the toner thing, or you have to shake it, and that's annoying. And in the middle of you running off your copies, it gets jammed. Some tiny little particles is buried deep inside the bowels of that machine, and you got to open it up and try to find it. And sometimes you can't fix it, and then your lesson's ruined. We all have some sort of copier horror story, and Google Classroom is a good way to avoid that. So we're going to talk about some of those things as well. But again, these are just two of the most obvious reasons why you should embrace Google Classroom. It will greatly impact your workflow. So some more reasons why you should do it. As a teacher, you get to distribute and work in assignments in a flash. Think of the minutes each day that you spend in class passing out papers to students. I mean, it may be a couple minutes at a time, but that adds up. Let's say you're doing 2 minutes a day. That's 10 minutes a week. That's 40 minutes a month. That's virtually almost an entire class period in 1 month that you spent passing out papers. Google Classroom does it at the click of a button and in an instant, where you don't have to be sitting out there taking a few minutes out of your class time to distribute papers. It really makes it a lot easier. It also, as quickly as you can distribute them, you can collect student work in an instant. As soon as the student's done working on it, all they have to do is click submit, turn in, and you don't have to be lugging around tons and tons of papers back and forth from home. It's much easier for your own than physically carrying around a bunch of papers. It just makes everything much more convenient. But we're going to focus here on the student section today, where it says the students can create a variety of things digitally and easily submit to the teacher. So when kids are learning how to create digital work, for you as a teacher, it's going to be a lot easier because it's all going to be stored on your laptop. Have laptop will travel. That's one thing you have to carry with you, not a stack of papers. And it opens up, if you are planning with the 4 C's in mind and having kids being very creative digitally, you open up a whole new world of possibilities for students to represent and demonstrate their learning, ways that you cannot do paper and pencil. So you're really empowering students probably more than you ever could before. So let's start here with English learners and how you could use Google Classroom and other associated apps to go ahead and try to get English learners in particular to create. Now, English learners, when you learn a new language, one of the most difficult things to do is not just to speak it, but to write it. And a lot of times your English learners, they tend to be able to speak about in what they know much better than they can write. So if you want to kind of jumpstart the writing process, there's one of my favorite ways to do that to get them to really speak about what they know is to use Screencastify. Screencastify is a Chrome extension that allows you to do screencasting. In other words, that you record what's on your screen and the screen plus your voice, and you make a video, almost like you're making a video tutorial. So allowing the students to really explain what they know in a video format. And in my experience, when I have students do this, before they write, their writing usually improves. Have them kind of speak about it first before they write. So like I said, this is like jump starting the writing process. And this is not just good for English learners. This is very useful for all students, regardless of language abilities at this time. So here's like a little kind of a recipe that I have for using Screencastify with Google Classroom. And along with, we'll sprinkle in some Google Slides. So first of all, when you have the Google Classroom Chrome extension, it appears right here on your Chrome toolbar next to your Omnibox here. That's the official name of the address bar on Google Chrome. And if you don't have it there, it's a free download on the Chrome Web Store. If it's blocked for students, you can talk to whoever's in charge of your Google Apps domain, and they can push it out to every student's Chrome browser. It's really, really quick and easy. If they've never done that before and they're not sure how, reach out to me. I can walk them right through it. I've done this for a variety of different Chrome extensions. It's very quick and easy. So here's kind of how the recipe would go. You would first, on your end as the teacher, you create the blank slide deck that you want kids to use, kind of like you're making a template. And what you're going to do, you're going to then create your assignment in Google Classroom. You're going to attach that to the assignment, the blank slide deck template that you gave them. And then you're going to make a copy for each student. That's the permissions you're going to set in Google Classroom. And then what's going to happen, the students are opening the assignment, they have their copy of your template, and then they're going to create the slides. So for example, right here, we have, this is a student example where the template I gave them was simply just the titles, and then they had to create the slides and tell me the story from this history lesson here using pictures and speech bubbles, etc. And what they did, they created their slides. And once they make their slides, as a teacher, I can look in on them on Google Classroom, click on each kid's slide, and I can see which each kid's slide deck, and then I can see where they're at. I can leave them feedback remotely, or I can walk over to them and talk to them. In a distance learning environment, it would be a remote feedback loop. But when the kids are done with their slides, they would then click on Screencastify and record themselves teaching their slides. And when they're done, it saves automatically in Google Classroom, in Google Drive, which then they can turn that video in as their assignment to that in Google Classroom. So as kids turn things in, you're going to have a bunch of student videos all saved for you in Google Classroom, also in Google Drive, because Classroom works that way. It organizes your drive for you. But a real simple way to get kids to be creative and explain what they know. This could be a good prelude to some kind of a writing assignment where they can then use their slides kind of to then, all right, I'm going to take my slides, my video, what I said, and then I'm going to put that on paper or on word processing with Google Docs. So it's a great way to kind of jumpstart the writing process, get them speaking about what they know, explaining. And again, let's say you have this English learner and you look at their writing, you're like, man, I'm not sure really what they say, but I can go back to their video and said, okay, I kind of see that they do kind of know it. They've had a harder time putting it into words when they write, but it does give you multiple measures of understanding what the students know. But long story short, this is a way to get kids creating with Google. A very simple little recipe. I encourage you to go ahead and use this to your heart's content. Adapt it to your situation. It doesn't have to be exactly the way that I do it, but I definitely would encourage you to use Screencastify, Google Slides, and Google Classroom to get kids creating. Next one here is marking the text with DocHub. Now, this one, you can get a lot of mileage out of this. I have some kind of older screenshots, but they do look pretty much the same here. DocHub, pretty much, I like to characterize DocHub as this. It's like free Adobe. You can use a free version of DocHub and get kids marking the text, marking PDF files. So it's very similar. If you're familiar with Kami, DocHub does pretty much the same thing. I tend to prefer DocHub, but if you like Kami, you can do the same thing with Kami. pretty much all you need to do is get some kind of PDF. Maybe you have this big giant packet of text that you want kids to read, a series of articles, and you don't want to spend an hour or two at the copy machine. If you have that digital text as a PDF, all you need to do is attach it to a Google Classroom assignment. And when it comes to DocHub, you don't need to make a copy for your student. Just give them viewing permission. So when they open it, the students are going to open with DocHub. If they don't see this as a connected app, they can go to here, connect more apps, and they can search DocHub and add that to their little menu there. If it's not there, again, talk to who's ever in charge of your Google Apps domain, the administrator, and they can connect that app. If they don't know how, again, reach out to me and I'll walk them right through the process. So what's going to happen sometimes, it is kind of hit or miss sometimes, and I don't know why it's more of a recent development with DocHub. A lot of times you may not get this initially when the kids open. It doesn't say open with. If they don't see the open with immediately, if it's like this with no open with, if they simply hit the three dots, hit open a new window, then it'll show up like this. It is kind of hit and miss on whether or not this shows up like this. But if you ever come across it where you don't see this, all they got to do, hit the three dots, open a new window, and then it'll show up here. It's just kind of a quirk that I've noticed over the past few years. So once they're in DocHub, you can do a lot of things here. Again, this is of the highest resolution of a GIF here, but what you are able to do, you have a toolbar up here, and you're able to highlight, you can underline, you can add stickers, you can add comments, you can type in text boxes anywhere on the document. And what we have right here is a video that you can use to bring back to your students. This is how to mark PDF text with DocHub and turn into Google Classroom from the student perspective. So how a student can then they access the document in Google Classroom. They open it with DocHub. They mark the text and turn it in to Google Classroom. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that very quickly here. Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at the student view and mute that and just kind of fast forward through. So the student is going to open this up. They open it up with DocHub. And you can see that this is the PDF there, and then they click on the three dots, open with a new window. And then once open the window, then they can click the open with button and choose DocHub. And then they will have to log in with Google the first time that they do it. And then what allows you have a variety of tools up here. You have a text tool, you have a highlighting tool, a line tool that you can use to draw, a variety of different tools that you can use to mark up this text to your heart's content. So here we're using the draw tool. You can circle, you can underline, a variety of things there. It does take a second sometimes for the line to show up based on your internet speed. So definitely, this is a video that you can use. You can give to students, say, hey, watch what the guy does in here. When they're done, they click the download button, and they would choose Google Classroom. It shows you how to turn this into Google Classroom as a student. So they would have to select their classroom, then choose the assignment, and then we go ahead and click. They would go ahead and move forward there, and then we allow them to turn it in, and they're going to turn in this link to DocHub. And then once you see this, that means that they are done. They've successfully turned in their assignment to Google Classroom. Right there's a turn in button, and they are then done. So again, share this video with students if you want. This will save you so much time at the copier. If you work for one of those school districts where you have to where your copier budget comes out of your class budget, this definitely will save so much money for you in that respect. So next year, I want to talk about book snaps and how you can really be creative with book snaps. Book snaps, for those who know me, are my jam. Book snaps were invented by a good friend of mine. Her name is Tara Martin. She's a brilliant educator out of Kansas. And in a nutshell, book snaps were invented kind of like this. Tara has been reading one day. She sees this on on this one page, something resonates with her. So what does Tara do? She whips out her phone, opens up Snapchat, takes a picture of that page, uses Snapchat's drawing function to circle the part of the page that really resounded with her. And then she uses the text function to type a statement of why it resounded and threw in some pictures and stickers to kind of jazz up and support what her statement was. And in a nutshell, that's kind of how book snaps were invented. But book snaps have some brain research behind it. Tara shared with me her brain research behind it, and how book snaps, when you read this way, what it does, it really allows the it improves your comprehension. So it's a great way to get kids to really think, to read with a critical eye, and to really, it's a great way to get kids to identify textual evidence and a variety of other things. So I definitely encourage you to take a look here at book snaps. If you click right here on the slides here on Tara's face or her profile picture here, it takes you to her link to her Twitter profile. Highly encourage you to follow her. She's just a treasure trove of great ideas. Here's some examples here of students that I've coached in doing book snaps. Here we have an actual Snapchat version of book snaps, where this is from a high school class where they actually use Snapchat to identify textual evidence here. So they circled the part of the text that they believed was resonated with them. They made a statement about it and used their Bitmoji and other stickers and emojis to kind of support what they wrote and what they circled. Over here, this is from a novel from a middle schooler, and what they were doing. This is from our now. I don't think we do AR anymore. We used to be a big on using accelerated reader. So what we did, worked with the librarian, and we created a book snaps gallery that served as I can say mini book reviews. So when a kid finished a book and passed the test in AR, they would do up to 3 book snaps about their favorite part of the book, or their least favorite part of the book, or 3 book snaps that kind of summarizes parts of the book that resounded with them either positively or negatively. So this is one that a student did from a book they read that they thought was shocking. And right here, so they circled the part of the text that they thought was shocking. Here's their statement, and then they added these pictures, stickers, and emojis to support what they circled and what they wrote. Now, if you're thinking, well, we can't do Snapchat at school, I get that. So this one right here was done with Google Slides. You don't need to do Snapchat. If you're working with younger learners, you can do this with Seesaw. I know a lot of great K3 teachers who do the same book snaps with Seesaw. If you're a Microsoft district, this can be done with PowerPoint. So here's an example from a high school history class, from a 10th grade world history class, where this is from an actual class that I taught, and here they're reading it from the textbook. So what I did, I had a PDF version of the textbook, and what I did to do this is all done in Google Slides. I created a slide deck with about 8 or 9 slides, and each slide had an image of text. I screenshotted some screenshotted text. So what I do, I would put this right here, marriage starts to crumble. That would be the theme they have to look for. So I tell them on each slide, you're going to see a picture of text and you're going to have a theme. You must find evidence of that theme. I said, I guarantee you there is evidence in there. You have to identify it and write a statement about it and support it. So in this case, they were reading about the beginnings of the Cold War and how the theme is marriage starts to crumble, where they were learning about how the relationship between the United States and Soviet Union after World War II broke down. So that kind of wartime marriage began to crumble. So they had to find evidence in the text, write a statement why, and support it with images. So in this case here, they would circle the text. They would type their statement right on top of the text, and then put their Bitmojis, emojis, and stickers, whatever they want to put to support it. Now you may be wondering, why are they putting it over the text? Because really the only text that really matters at this point is what they circle. So as a teacher, when I go to Google Classroom, I click on each kid's slide deck, and I want to see, are they doing this correctly? All I have to do is look and see what they circled. It helps me as a teacher focus on whether or not they are identifying the proper evidence within the text. So again, each example here, you see where the kids circled what they thought was the textual evidence. They circled it. they wrote about it, and then they put in they jazzed it up with their pictures. Now, one kind of pro tip I would suggest is that when you sit with the stickers and the emojis, I give them a limit of 1 to 3, at least one, but no more than three. Otherwise, they can get a little carried away, and they might take a long time. So just something to be aware of when trying to implement book snaps. So here's a kind of a recipe for you to kind of, as a teacher, how to do what I call a clue book snap. This would be an example of a clue book snap. Each slide has this clue, then they have to find the textual evidence and explain themselves. So here's how it works. Number one, start your slide deck template. I use the blank layout. You screenshot a snippet of text on however many slides that you want kids to do. With high schoolers, I would suggest probably somewhere between 7 to 10 can be done, is a reasonable amount for them. For middle school students, somewhere between 5 to 8 at the most, because you don't want to overwhelm students with this. So once you create your slides, you insert the snippets of text to each slide. Then you want to arrange and resize on the slide so it fits right. And then on the text box, insert a text box to add your clue. That clue could be a theme. It could be something you want the kids to make an inference about. It could be a lot of different things that you choose what you put in the text box. So this right here, this video is for you as a teacher. That shows you how to set it up, how to create it, and then put it into Google Classroom. This is a video you would share with students on how the students would do the book snap through Google Classroom. So here's the kind of the instructions here. So on the student end, once they open it up in Classroom, they're going to read the text and scan for evidence of that clue or that theme, whatever information you put on there on each slide. Then they can use the scribble tool to circle, underline the evidence of the clue, as you have seen right here. They use the scribble tool to do their circling. And then what I tell them to do next when they type their statement, 1 to 2 sentence rationale about why what they circled is evidence of that clue. I tell them to use the insert rectangle across the width of the text. So when they go to the shapes tool, that's where they find the rectangle. And the reason why I say use a rectangle, then they can click in the rectangle and type in it, and it serves as a text box, and it has a nice contrast so it doesn't blend in with the image of text. And then the last thing they do is insert 1 to 3 images or emojis to support the rationale. I tell them PNGs files are preferred because they appear as stickers on the slide. And then when they're done, they simply turn it into Google Classroom. So again, you would share these instructions as well as this video right here to with students to show them how to participate in what I like to call a clue book snap. So here's some more examples of clue book snaps. Again, this is from a textbook. Here's your clue right here. This would have been on the slide for each one of these. I just screenshotted different student examples here. But again, you see where they underlined or circled. They added their text, and then they added their images or emojis to support what they wrote. So again, you can share this slide as well to give kids some examples of what this can look like. And you can always tell kids, hey, we're going to be doing book snaps. We're going to put your Snapchat skills to work, except we're not using Snapchat. We're going to be using Google Slides. So another variation of book snaps that I like to use is what I call the picture surprise book snap. So this is where it takes a little bit longer to set up, but it really allows for some close reading. It's kind of almost like a guided reading without me actually doing whole class instruction. Each kid can kind of go at their own pace. I've seen it where I've done it where kids kind of collaborate on this with a partner. They can do it solo. And for me, as a teacher, I'm a facilitator now, and I'm moving around, getting my steps in, giving kids individual feedback one-on-one if I'm working in a face-to-face environment. So this is something you may want to consider if you come back to a hybrid where you only see your students a couple times a week for not too long. This is a kind of a good activity to do some guided reading and really get the most out of that limited face-to-face time you have with students here. So just like the other one with the clue, you start your slide deck template, use the blank layout, you set it up the exact same way Uh, these first four bullets are the exact same, but here now, what you're doing is you're going to then insert text boxes with questions or color coding rules. So you may add, so as you can see on this example here, that I put questions here. So on this one here, it says in blue, how did Rosa Parks break the law? So now they're looking there for us. So what we're doing here with the picture surprise is that we're teaching how to skim. So I tell kids, read the prompts and questions first, then go look for the evidence. So it says in blue, so they would have to underline or circle in blue how Rosa Parks broke the law. Here in red, how did the bus driver respond to Rosa Parks breaking the rules? So now they have to change their scribble tool to a red color, and so we're color coding here. So the picture surprise comes in here. It says copy and paste an emoji that represents how Rosa Parks might have felt when the police were called. So I put an arrow where it's where I wanted to put. They had to put the emoji. As you can imagine, them probably they chose the angry emoji or the sad emoji or the frustrated emoji. That would be something that they would paste right here. So this video right here teaches you, the teacher, how to set this up. On the student on the student perspective, this video here shows you how a student would access in classroom and then go through the steps of doing a picture surprise book snap. So again, the student reads the text and scans for evidence of the different clues that you put on there. So the clue book snap is one overarching theme or topic. This one you put a variety. I would say, at least one, but probably no more than four little prompts or questions. They're going to use the scribble tool and have to change the scribble tool's color for each one because you're going to give them the color coding rules. So again, they change the line color to instructor color and line thickness. The line thickness, I definitely encourage kids to use the number 4 because it makes it easier for the teacher to see it, much easier, more obvious when you are grading this. And again, copy and paste the picture emoji. PNGs are also preferred when they're doing the picture surprise part of this activity. So here's a couple of different examples here. So right here, this is from a World War II lesson right here. So right here we have, right in blue, what did Japan not want the U.S. to do? In red, circle 2 pieces of evidence of destruction in the attack in the surprise attack of Pearl Harbor. So here's the blue, here's the red, and then in orange, circle 2 things the president did in response to the attack. So then they would circle that part here. So this really actually becomes very quickly and easy for you, the teacher, to grade. You're looking through all the different student slide decks, and you just kind of click through, and after a while, you know where the evidence is, and you can see the colors, and you can very quickly leave feedback and see, and at a glance, see if kids are actually doing what they're or identifying the correct evidence here. So here I actually put 2 picture surprises here. This is actually, I usually don't put 3 prompts and 2 picture surprises here. This one is copy paste an emoji about how that represents how Americans felt when Pearl Harbor was bombed. And again, here's one for how Japan felt when Pearl Harbor was bombed. So this is definitely allows kids to think empathetically and inject a little bit of research into their reading. Here's another one here where they had to circle 4 things the Nazis did to prisoners when they arrived at the concentration camps. And again, you can see the different colors that were used. And here we have some research here. Copy and paste a picture of the gas chambers used to kill prisoners in the Holocaust. So this kid did some research, found an actual image of the gas chambers used in the concentration camp. So definitely some good examples and ways to have kids read in a different way, and they're creating something as they go. So again, Book Snaps allows you to get very, very creative. You do color coding, think empathetically. They can summarize with Book Snaps. You inject a little bit of research, a lot of close reading, identify authors' claims. You can put links in there to other articles or videos that support the text, kind of like hyperdocs. This is good for Avid as far as color coding in a different way of marking the text. And writing rationales when you identify author's claim, or if you're summarizing or thinking empathetically, the kids are going to have to rationalize and support what they've identified. So we're going to finish off here lastly with an edu protocol that can definitely be done with Google Classroom and Google Slides, which is affectionately known as the Cyber Sandwich. The Cyber Sandwich was invented by a mentor of mine. Her name is Marlena Hebron. She's one of the co-authors of the Edu Protocol's field guide, and Cyber Sandwich is one of her kind of is her brainchild. So Cyber Sandwich is a good way to get kids to collaboratively write. So it kind of the same way that you set up book snaps, a Cyber Sandwich can be done the same way. So when you create your kind of when you as a teacher set up your Cyber Sandwich activity, you start with a title slide where you add your image of a topic, and then you write your prompt or essential question. Then slides 2 or 3 are for the students to have. 2 and 3 are where students have a place to add bulleted notes, and they may have a paper article or some text, or that you put a link on their slides for what you want them to read, and write out their notes from what they type out their notes for when they read. Slide 4 is going to have some kind of a table or Venn diagram for each partner to add in their important information that is both similar and in common with their from their reading notes. Slide 5 is now where they collaboratively begin to write a paragraph based on their prompt and their notes, and type explicit instructions on the slide. Add sentence frames if necessary. And what you do, you post this assignment in Google Classroom as a template slide deck attached, making a copy for each student. So a variety of ways to do this. You can assign it only to like certain students, and then they have to share it with their partner, or you can assign this multiple times to groups of pairs of students using instead of doing all students. You kind of all right. So the first time you post it is for Johnny and Judy, and then you post it again, it's for 2 other kids. So a couple different ways to kind of expedite the this collaborative writing activity. So some tips for facilitation here would be to again set your students up in pairs. Oops. Assign or have students choose kind of a group captain. Only the captains open the slide deck template in Classroom, and then give them a couple minutes to share the slide deck template with those in their group. Or you can kind of already let's say you have 10 groups, you assign it 10 different times, but each one is to a different group. And then each student opens their shared slide deck template. They put their name on the slide title slide next to their slide number. And what you do, you give them 10 minutes to read the text, jot notes on their slide, 10 minutes for each pair to collaborate on slide number 4, and then usually roughly about 10 minutes for each pair to collaboratively write their paragraph on slide 5. And then you have the captains turn it in, the slide deck, to Google Classroom. So the reason why I want to end with this, and again, I'm going over this quickly, but this is Cyber Sandwich is a great way to get kids to read and write collaboratively in a limited amount of time when we come back in the fall, and you don't have a lot of face-to-face time. It's a great way to maximize that time. And I just kind of want to leave you with this little tip here, this little idea before we kind of call it a day. If you want more information about Cyber Sandwich, if you go to the eduprotocols.com website, you can go right to the source yourself, Marlena Hebern and John Carippo, and they have plenty of other templates and ideas and examples of how Cyber Sandwich can be used. This is just kind of the way that I've used it. And again, this whole session is about creating with Google Classroom, and this is a good way to have kids be creative using Classroom in a collaborative manner. So again, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with me today. My name is Adam Juarez. Feel free to reach out to me through email, through social media, through my website, through my blog. I always respond within 24 hours, and when you have a session with me, you get free tech support for life. So again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for you.